Hello, welcome to Self-Learning Podcast by Dr. Sushma Singh. Let us start discussion on Unit 8 Legislature, and our topic is Parliament Functioning and Overview. Parliament of Independent India technically began on 26th January 1950, but democratically it came to life only in 1952. Lok Sabha was then highly elitistic, drawing most of its members from urban and legal backgrounds. Legislation was adopted as the chief instrument of socio-economic engineering that occupied nearly 50% of the total number of sittings of the first Lok Sabha. The House was in its formative period, laying down healthy foundations for building the strong edifice of parliamentary institutions and provisions. The second Lok Sabha 1957 to 62 perhaps can be known in the history of Indian parliamentary democracy as the Golden Period. Parliament enacted a large number of legislative measures. Among the bills passed, 4 amended the constitution, including the one incorporating Goa into the Indian Union. 2 private members' bills were brought on the status book, and a joint sitting of both houses to resolve the deadlock on the dowry prohibition bill. The importance of the question hour for ensuring administrative accountability was highlighted in Mundra scandal. Nehru remarked, considering everything, we have done rather well, and considering the state of the world today, when every other day we read about the coup deeds in various countries, it is surprising how we have carried on in our normal ways. The third Lok Sabha 1962 to 67 saw agriculturalists taking the position of lawyers, who formed the largest group in the first and second Lok Sabha. With remarkable changes in the composition of the House, the opposition members generally were more active. Treasury benches fearlessly criticized, expressed genuine doubts, and sometimes even opposed government proposals. The number of women members also increased from 27 in the second to 34 in the third Lok Sabha. An interesting development was that the law-making function no more remained as the major occupation of the House. The most important developments on the political and parliamentary scene in India during the life of the fourth Lok Sabha 1967 to 70 was the phenomena of defections and party splits, of the Congress party losing its undisputed dominant position, and of the non-Congressism emerging as a rallying point and program for the opposition parties. The battle between the Indira Gandhi and the Congress syndicate, her support to V.V. Giri and his election as president, the controversy of concise versus discipline, the split within the Congress in the Gandhi centenary year 1969, the ouster of Morarji Desai from finance ministership, and the nationalization of major banks all had their impact on the functioning of Lok Sabha. The phenomena of defection characterized this period. The fifth Lok Sabha 1971 to 77. witnessed a plethora of legislative measures, 482, and 19 constitutional amendment bills. The Shimla Agreement with Pakistan, integration of Sikkim with the Union of India, enactment of MISA, Maintenance of Internal Security Act, proclamation of emergency and adoption of far-reaching 42nd constitutional amendment were some of the major flashpoints. However, a non-Congress Janata government came to power in the 6th Lok Sabha 1977 to 79 and tried to trace out and punish all those closely associated with Indira Gandhi and responsible for the aristocracy and excesses of the emergency period. The government remained in existence for nearly 2.5 years. The 7th Lok Sabha 1980 to 84 saw the Congress I leader Indira Gandhi back in saddle. The situation in Punjab dominated the proceedings of the House. Mandal Commission report, which recommended 27% reservation for the backward classes, was discussed in a marathon debate in the House. In 1984, due to the assassination of Indira Gandhi, the election held gave a landslide victory to Congress and Rajiv Gandhi became the youngest Prime Minister. During the 8th Lok Sabha 1985 to 89, as many as 13 constitutional amendment bills were passed out, of which two most important were those providing for disqualification of members on the ground of defection and reducing the voting age from 21 to 18 years. However, Indian Post Office Amendment Bill, the Muslim Women Protection of Rights on Divorce Bill, Bofors scandal, and mass resignation by the opposition members from Lok Sabha and the system of departmental standing committees made the 8th Lok Sabha historic house in the development of the Indian parliamentary democracy. In the 9th Lok Sabha, majority government of Janata Dal was formed by the VP Singh. The situation in the Jammu and Kashmir, Punjab and Assam largely dominated the proceedings. Mandal Commission report was implemented amidst much resistance by the upper caste in and the outside the house. Mandal triggered the Mandir issue and L.K. Advani with his troop rallied for the construction of Ram temple at Ayodhya. Following the withdrawal of the support by the BJP and its allies in retaliation against the arrest of L.K. Advani, the government lost majority and in fact was defeated on the vote of confidence. The 9th Lok Sabha tenure was brief. In the 10th Lok Sabha 1991 to 96, Congress I emerged as the largest party in the House, but was short of absolute majority to form a stable government on its own. The Mandir issue led to the demolition of Babri Masjid, and the country witnessed one of the most testing times for legislatures. During this period, two very important decisions were taken. One, allotment of rupees 1 crore yearly to each MP to be spent on the developmental work in his or her constituency, and two, setting up a full-fledged system of 17th departmental standing parliamentary committees with the task of making an in-depth scrutiny of budget proposals and demands for grants, among others. The 11th and 12th Lok Sabha saw the emergence of coalition government, where the primary focus of the legislators shifted to maintenance and consolidation of the coalition. Diverse interests and intentions were accommodated. Multicultural parliament in the form of coalition or otherwise has the potentiality to creatively move towards the goals of development, modernization, and secularization. However, much needs to be seen as to how the legislative oversight transforms the idea of development and change to fulfill the rising expectations of the masses. Perhaps the answer lies in the perception of the calculus of hope for success and fear of failure to achieve the cherished goals embedded in the preamble of the Constitution. Now let us sum up the unit. In a democracy, state plays a crucial role in maintaining order and reconciling conflicts in a civil society. Modern state in the form of three important bodies, legislature, executive and judiciary, tries to accomplish the political goals of the society, thus endorsing the credentials of democracy. In this unit, the above mentioned institutions are dealt with in detail. Legislature not only represents the people but also assumes the role of law-making body. It is an embodiment of participatory democracy. The President, Lok Sabha, Rajya Sabha and various committees and opposition are an integral part of the legislature. State legislatures are important at the state level. The concept of sovereignty, which contains both the descriptive as well as prescriptive element, is essential to enforce the decisions of the legislature. An overall analysis of functioning of the parliament in its sequence is necessary to understand the institutions and procedures. Thus, legislature contributes to achieving the goals embedded in the preamble of the Constitution. Now let us wind up the session, and we have come to the end of the unit. Thank you very much for engaging yourself with the self-learning podcast.